Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me for another AppScan Tuesdays. Today we have a very important session for you for two reasons. First of all, I will have a special guest with me, Anthony, and we have a task to do. We need to beat Peter's numbers from last week. Second thing is that we are going to release a new version soon, AppScan 10.02, and AppScan 10.02 will require you to use the new HCL license server. And I want to make sure that you know how to use it. So I have a special guest with me today, and welcome Anthony. Thank you for joining.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here, Eitan.
Thank you, Anthony. And I know that I gave you a rather dry topic today, but I need your help, right? I need your help to let us know how do we use the HCL license server with AppScan? How do we set it up? What are the options? And a little bit to talk about it. So before we start, Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your role?
Yeah, so I am the worldwide technical advisor reporting for AppScan, HCL AppScan. I provide assistance to my fellow technical advisors throughout different regions with assistance related to AppScan. And also, most recently, a lot of my focus has been around this local license server or just general HCL licensing in general. So again, I'm happy to be here to kind of share with everybody about this this new and cool way to get HCL license set up for AppScan.
Yeah, and as I just mentioned, right, next week, by the way, Anthony, we are going to do a show I'm going to do with my colleagues, product managers, with my team about AppScan 10.02. We are going to do a mini launch. And with this version, pay attention, folks, it will only accept the HCL license server. And for very good reasons. We want you to have all your support and license support from, all your product and license support from one place. I think it gives you better flexibility and gave us better ability to give you what you need. So with that in mind, why not showing you how to use the new license and the benefit of it? Before we jumped into what you're going to demo to us, with IBM we had a rational license key server center, and you had to install it. There's some news that you bring to us, right, with the HCL license. You don't have to install anything on-prem.
That is correct. So with the new HCL licensing method, you do have the option of either deploying this locally, just like how IBM rational license server used to work, or you also have the option of deploying this on the cloud. So there's an additional option that you can leverage to deploy the license.
With all the benefits from the cloud, right? I don't need to deploy it myself, don't need to manage it. Disaster recovery, all that is being taken care of for me.
Exactly. Yeah. It does provide that flexibility where you leverage the cloud for license deployment, and you don't have to have a hardware in that case as well, just for the license server, right? In that situation.
So I would want us to first show that, if you can, first show how you do the cloud license, and of course for those that must use the local license server, we'll touch that also. That's okay with you?
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so let me share my screen, and I will walk us through the process of setting up the. First of all, we'll go through the HCL the cloud license server, and then we'll talk about the local license server and how that works.
Okay, so we can see your screen now.
Okay, awesome. So I am in my HCL license and delivery portal. Okay, so that's the official name for this product. I apologize if I call it F&O at certain times. That's what we call it internally, but this is the portal where you can access your entitlements, you can access the devices where we're going to be using to create the license servers, and also to download the products, right? The different things that you can download from HCL.
Yeah, so everything from one place and easier way. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Right. So let's go through the process of creating what we call a device in this portal here. So under the device menu, let's go create device. Okay. So for us to set up a cloud license server, it is very simple. So all we have to do is to first give it a name. So we'll do demo, and then we'll give today's date. And for cloud license server, just got to make sure you check the box here to run license server. And for server deployment, there's a local and a cloud option. So we're going to start out here, but later on, I will show you the process of setting up the local license server. In that case, we'll have to use the local checkbox here as well. Okay. So let's select cloud, and we click save. Okay, so the server has been created successfully. I have a server license ID, and all I have to do now is to go to Action, go to Map Entitlements. Okay, and the screen will load and should present me with my entitlements. So
you have a
this
lot.
Is a yeah. So this is a test platform. We're under the UAT environment. That's why it's showing these numbers. Typically, that's not a realistic type of deployment. So for this demo, we're going to just grab one license for HCL AppScan standard floating users. Okay, we're going to click Save. And we are actually almost done with the creation of a device here. The last step is actually to go to Action and then set a password. Okay, so let's give it a password.
And I need the password to make sure that no one else takes my device? Is that the idea?
That is correct. So for you to connect from AppScan to the license server, you do need to provide two pieces of information. One is the server ID, right? So this is the ID that you will get from the top of the field right here. And then the second piece of information is the password that you set. Right? So that kind of protects this particular device and ensuring that only you or your team is grabbing licenses from this device. Okay, so let me minimize my screen here, and then let me go to AppScan standard. In this case, I'm running 10.01. Okay, so under the help menu, let's go to license, configure license, okay, and make sure we select the cloud license server. Let's put in the ID, okay, so I already copied that from the device screen. And just a reminder, okay, so that is the ID that you get from the license server ID field there.
Yep.
And then finally, just the password, right, the password that you have set earlier, and just put that. Okay, so we're connected to the license server. It tells us that we have one license available from this server and one is being used. And that's it. That's kind of the way how you set up a cloud license server for AppScan standard.
And people can do it today. They don't need to wait until they upgrade to 10.02 because you're using 10.01. And I think it's from 9.03.14 already. People could use it. So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
But definitely before you upgrade to 10.02, you need to do that because we won't have the switch to IBM license. So make sure you're taking these steps. Very easy, very convenient. Okay.
Yeah, that took us maybe less than 5 minutes to get the cloud license server set up. So it's very easy, very convenient to set up for sure.
Now let's make it more complex. I work in an organization that doesn't want to use anything on the cloud. Yes, there are still those organizations. Everything needs to be on-prem. And we have that. I expect it to be much more complex. And I think it was until you showed up and showed us, and implemented a new way.
Right. So I'm going to show you guys how to use the, like a different way to deploy the local license server. So some of you may have already tried to deploy local license server in the past, and you may have experienced that the steps involved to set that up manually has been really extensive. It's not very convenient. So I'm going to show you a new way to set up the local license server. Okay, so for those who don't have the ability to use the cloud license server, this is how you would do it. Okay, so I am in my actually this is the production FNO site. So what I want to show you is that if you go to the download section, you click on list download, which is where I am. Let's go to application security. So one of the things that we recently have uploaded onto the server here is the HCL AppScan local license server installer. Okay, so this is v1.0.4. You can see that it was pushed on August 6th. Okay, so this is actually a tool that we have built with embedded scripts that allows you to install the local license server much more quickly, much more efficiently, removing the need to type in commands in the command prompt, and then just allow you to manage the license server with a much easier process, right? So I'm not going to download this because I already have a copy locally in my machine, and I have extracted that, which is right here. So let's take a look at what's in here, okay? So everything that you need in terms of setting up the local license server, okay, in terms of the libraries that's needed, the packages that's needed, is already in here. So you don't need to download anything else. And with this single package, you should be able to get your local license server up and running. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to run this bat file, the install script start menu. So let's run that as an administrator. This is telling us that we have a couple shortcuts created, okay? So let's go there and see what these shortcuts are. So under this menu, we see local license server installer. So under the general folder, you have a couple icons, and under the maintenance folder, you have more icons, okay? So to get local license server installed, very simply, in 2 steps, you can get everything set up and running. So with this icon here, step 1, you can install the local license server. With the step 2, you can upload the bin file, which we also call the capability response, from the HCL license and delivery portal, and get that loaded into our local license server. So 2 steps, okay? No more commands and no more typing all those. Yeah. So let's see how this works. Okay, so let's click that. We are clicking the step 1 to install. Default port is 7443, so we're gonna use that. If you wanna enter your own port, you can type that here, okay? So this allows you to type in your own port, but I'm gonna use the default one for this demonstration. Seeing that I have already installed this before, so I'm gonna try to reinstall it. And what that's gonna do is gonna stop the service that was running, and then it's going to reinstall the entire local license server.
Okay.
So this takes about I would say 3 to 5 minutes where it gets all the components up and running, and also waiting for the server to be ready for us to go to the next step, okay?
Okay, so now it's the time for me to talk with you and spend some time while people are watching the script running, right?
Yeah. Yes, we're watching paint dry.
So first of all, thank you for this effort and for explaining here. And while we're waiting, people out there, again, there is a benefit of using the cloud. There is a benefit of using the cloud always, but there is a benefit of using the cloud here because you don't need to run it on your machine. There is no added value realistically these days in running the license from your machine. You run from one place and everyone can connect to it. Of course, if you're in a situation where you don't have access to the internet from every machine, and just for you can install it and do everything offline, I get it, can happen, but really encourage you, especially those folks that have a single or 2 of instances of AppScan standard, or soon to have AppScan source for analysis as a standalone. This should be the best option moving forward. That was faster. Yep. I was ready to talk so much more.
Yeah. I'm sure you have a lot more prepared to speak as we're waiting for this, but right on time. Yeah. So when you guys see this last screen here, where you have a host ID being presented, essentially at this point your local license server is already fully installed. We were able to run the script to extract the host ID, which is needed for you to create a device in the FlexNet license and delivery portal, which is accessed via the link here. So there are some helper text here that you can reference on how to create the device. I'm just going to show you how that is performed, okay? So let me go back to my FNO or my portal here, and if I go to, okay, so I have Firefox open for the other device. So
as we saw before, right? You're creating a device again.
Yeah, you basically repeat the same steps. So I am logged out. You're essentially sort of repeating the same steps as you did before, where you're also required to create a device. So I'm going to call this local license server. And you'll see that the settings are a little bit different for local deployment. Okay, so instead of cloud, we're using local. For the ID type, make sure to select the Ethernet. And this is where we need to paste the ID. Okay, so this ID is where we got it from earlier. Okay, so this ID goes into the device, and you click save. Now, if I click save here, it's going to fail because I have already created a device in this environment. So I'm just going to show you how that looks like in my actual device. So let me just compare and make sure that's the right one. Yeah, let's go inside. So same thing as before, you need to go and map entitlements. Okay, so similar to cloud, you need to make sure the AppScan licenses are mapped, and if they're mapped successfully, you'll see them down below. Okay, so I do have an AppScan standard right here. So this is good. I'm gonna just go to action. And what's gonna be different for a local deployment is that you need to download this file, this capability response file. It's a file with an extension of bin, B-I-N. Okay, so let's save that. So that's in my download folder. Let me just put it in desktop so I can find it easily later. And all we have to do to get that file loaded into the local license server is go back to our start menu, go to step 2. Okay, so this will give me a pop-up asking me to load the bin file. And all I have to do is browse for that file we just got. Okay, and there we go. That has successfully loaded the file. So we see that it's been uploaded onto the local license server. We can see the licenses attached to this device. Always make sure to kind of compare the licenses that you mapped to the one that's being shown here. So I see that I have 7 counts of different licenses, and that does match with my device screen here. So that's good. Everything's good to go.
Now back to AppScan standard to show. Do we need to do anything in AppScan standard now?
So yeah, the very last step. So press enter. It will present you with some information for you to copy and paste over to the different products of AppScan. So AppScan standard, we just have to get the server name, port, and password. Okay, so let's go to AppScan standard, license, click on the local license server. Okay, so I already remember what those settings are, so I'm just going to type it over.
When did you set the password here? I missed that part.
Yeah, so the password was provided from the screen down here.
Okay.
And then we just have to copy it over into the license configuration.
Got it.
And you can see that we're now connected to the local license server with the appropriate AppScan standard licenses, being made available to AppScan standard here. And that's it. Local license server. It's a little bit more involved, but hopefully with this installer tool, it makes it easier to install license and manage your licenses.
Sounds great. Okay, so bringing you back in.
Right. Yeah, let me use the camera.
So thanks, Anthony. First of all, for helping build this script and showing that it's very easy. Again, our recommendation, although Anthony did all the work here, our recommendation is still to use the cloud license server, right, Anthony? It's easier.
Indeed, yes. It's just overall easier to deploy, for sure.
Yeah, because you don't need to deploy, basically. What about with AppScan Enterprise and AppScan Source? The process is a little bit different, just in the sense of how I use it in AppScan itself, right? Because of the nature of the product.
Yeah, the deployment of license for AppScan Enterprise and Source, the steps of getting the licenses there is what we showed there earlier in the portal is actually all the same, right? You just got to make sure you map the right licenses. But from a configuration perspective, you just have to go to the respective license manager tools. And as we shown earlier, the tool itself, the script, actually presents you with the field that you need to copy and paste over into every AppScan product. So just makes the whole process easier to get the licenses configured from a local license perspective.
And just in case someone gets into issues, I think I'll have a link below the tech notes that you helped created. So for the different products, I'll include them in the description. Hopefully they will go live before this session goes live. And if not, hey, reach out to our support. We'll be happy to help you. Any comments before we finish for today, Anthony? And of course, I remind everyone, share this. We have a target. We need to get more views that Peter got last time. I'm going to have a bet with Peter that we can pass him. So.
No, definitely. Thanks for inviting me, Eitan. And yeah, definitely subscribe and like.
Thank you. And I promise to bring you again and to have sessions on more exciting parts of AppScan. But this is a very important, right? This was very technical and important, and people have to get it right. So thank you very much, Anthony.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.